Welcome to Boss Level, a podcast where we feature conversations with guests who have leveled up, bringing an XP boost to the table. Today, we'll be talking to Dani Chambers, an American actress and voice actress known for her roles as Chisei Hattori in The Ancient Magus Bride, Ameliko in Shadow's House, and more. But before we get started, I'll take a moment to introduce your hosts for today. And on this episode, that's myself, Psyche, and Hey Shady Lady.
Hello, everybody.
Dani, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, hi, my name is Dani Chambers. I'm a voice actress. I specialize in anime and video games, and I really enjoy doing it. Been doing it for about almost 10 years, I think. Oh my gosh,
Wow.
it's weird to say now at this point. Yeah, next year will be 10 years. Wow. Yeah. No, I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks.
It's super cool. I've always wanted to talk to a voice actress or a voice actor before. When I was in high school, it was like my dream to become an anime voice actress specifically. I guess I never pursued it. I don't know. I got distracted after school, just, the party life. And so all dreams just went to the wayside. But I remember I wrote a whole paper on it in high school about like wanting to, how you went into it, how you got into it and stuff like that. Of course, this was like 15 years ago. So I'm sure that the process has changed, but I'm very excited to pick your brain just about what it's like being a voice actress, how you got into it. So maybe a good first place to start was this something you always wanted to do, or did you just find yourself in voice acting?
I've always been an actor growing up. Like my mom even says like I was doing shows out of the womb. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. But no, I've done theater pretty much my whole life, and it's been so much fun. I love playing different characters. I love being something that I normally don't get to play. And so I've done theater my whole life. And so when I got into when I graduated college, the theater thing, it's hard to get into any type of this industry. But I was like, I want to kind of do some voice acting. I loved anime growing up. I've always wanted to be in cartoons and stuff. Like Cree Summer is one of my favorite inspirations. She's the voice of she's the voice of number 5, Kids Next Door, Susie from Rugrats. Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Her voice is really distinct as well.
Yes, it's so good. And I always thought I had like a different voice than what people expect me to have, I guess, if that makes sense. And so I was like, well, if she could do it, I could do it. And I wanted to see more POC in anime. So I was like, why not? Yeah. Let's do it. So I took classes. I started in 2013, and I didn't really book anything till 2017. So it was a lot of work, but time, energy, money, and mental capacity, that stuff plays into it. So when people say, how do you get into it? I'm like, okay, let me tell you, it's a lot different from back in the day. Back then, it's like they didn't have a lot of people to do it.
So it was like opportunities were probably more abundant. I remember the main thing I learned was like making a reel tape, but it was or a demo reel, but it's not the same way we do it now because we didn't have as much technology back then. I mean, this would have been around like the really early 2000s. And I feel like Funimation was one of the big like giants at the time. So there weren't really a lot of companies that were producing dubbed anime either. So it wasn't, I feel like now it's probably a lot like streaming or any like YouTuber or anything like that. The competition is probably so steep to like get into it at this point. I've heard that the best thing to do is to go to Texas if you want to try to get into anime voice acting, because there's a lot of production studios. Do you think that's true, or is it possible for people who are outside of that state to do it?
Well, I would say before the panorama happened, yeah, probably because, a majority of anime is in this area, the Dallas, Texas area. And, since Funimation has their hub here, yeah, they used a lot of Texas talent. But since the pandemic, we've been able to use remote recording, which is good. And so that way it's possible like anybody from anywhere else could do recording. I know this one actress, she lived in Florida for a bit before she moved somewhere else, and she was able to record a lot of stuff. And so it's like, yeah, it's definitely possible. You just got to have, a good setup and stuff, which like you know, that's more money, another story.
Yeah.
But like, but now I don't know. Like things are still changing. So I mean, possibly, yeah, it helps. I think to be in Texas. If you're not in Texas, it may be a little harder, little harder. But other than that, I still think it's possible.
That's cool. I have a kind of like a lighthearted question, I guess, to ask. So you've been in a lot of different anime. You have done a lot of different voices and characters. If you had to pick like a universe that you could be a character in, what would it be? Would it be one you've been a voice in already? Would it be something completely different?
Probably something completely different. I would love to be in Tokyo Mew Mew.
Oh,
I love the magical girl anime, like Sailor Moon, all
Hell
that
yeah.
jazz. Like Sailor Jupiter's my girl, man. Like, yes. No, and when Tokyo Mew Mew came out, I watched it on 4Kids when it came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so cute. I love this. Like they're animals and it's cute little attacks, destroying monsters and stuff. It's so funny. But no, I love that one. I would love to be in that one. Like the universe. Like like I was excited when the show came out, the remake came out, and it's already coming out soon. I'm like, yes, please, yes, I want it. Yes, I need it. So I'm so excited it's coming out. But if I could like put myself in that world, probably yeah.
That's cool. Thank you. And also, when we talk about someone being boss level, we talk about somebody who has like leveled up or brings something that maybe other people can kind of glean information and experience from. What does being boss level to you mean?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess just, I don't want to say keep being busy, but like not necessarily booking, but just kind of enjoying what you're doing. Like you're not stressing yourself out. You're enjoying your craft. You're enjoying practicing, and also giving yourself time to rest, because that's important. Because I don't know how many times we've experienced burnout, trying to like make stuff happen all the while like not keeping track of your health. Like this happened to me recently. I went to the hospital because of it. I didn't slow down. So it was a wake-up call. So it's like, all right, we're going to set little goals for ourselves and figure out how we're going to manage this better. But yeah, no, making sure you still enjoy your craft, also taking care of yourself, drinking water, and just living your life. Like you're not having to, that's the one thing I think is great about like being self-employed. You don't really have to answer to anybody. You're your own company. And I think that's what makes it boss level. You're doing your own thing as long as you're taking care of yourself.
That's one of the hardest things though, is answering to yourself. I'd love to just dig in with you about the work-life balance and what some of these goals look like for you, and how you've learned to recognize when you're hitting burnout, and maybe what burnout looks like a little bit for you too.
Ooh, yes, we can definitely get into this, because I learned a lot the past 2 weeks.
I am constantly cycling through burnout, and I'm starting to get to where I recognize it and like trying to temper myself. But this is one of my, like, I don't want to say it's my favorite subject, because it's my least favorite subject.
I get you.
I'm so like, at this point, I feel like I'm an expert. Well, not really, because I'm always like, help me. Like, what does it look like for you, and how have you learned to manage it?
Oof. It's interesting you say that. I'll answer it, but you said help me. That's interesting. A lot of people don't say help me whenever they experience burnout, and I think that's a major thing, because I was stressing out a lot of certain things, like I'm taking this class, I'm doing this, I'm like I'm not booking, but people are saying I'm good. I don't understand what the problem is. Like that was going through my brain. I was having like health issues. My gut was like not happy with me for whatever I was eating, because I was so busy. I was trying like, I have to get this money, I have to do this, because if I don't do this, my brain went into all kinds of different directions. So when I ended up in the hospital because of it, it kind of forced me to sit down in the hospital bed like, okay, what could we have done to fix this? And I kind of took a step back and looked at everything. Like, I probably shouldn't have stressed out about this, because how that was resolved took like a day later. So taking kind of like a step back and reassessing what events transpired, so you can kind of figure out how you can approach the problems in a different way will help you in the long run. And I actually had to ask my fiance for help because I don't normally like asking for help. It's not a pride thing either. It's more of just I forget to ask people to help me. And that's important because we have people, everybody has people in their lives that love them and they want the best for us. And that's something we have to remember, that even if they're not necessarily like with us physically, we can always call. Like, that's the power of technology. Like,
Yep.
like we can call somebody who's like 15 hours ahead or behind and let them know, like, hey, I'm not doing too good. I got this going on. What do you think I should do? They'll give you advice on how to like either fix it or what they think you should do, or tell you something that you need to hear. Like, hey, did you drink water today? No. You go do that. You know, you need people like that. And I think you don't have to have like tons of friends to do that. You just need like one or two people to kind of like, hey, keep me accountable. If you don't hear from me for like, you know, a couple days, or if I'm too busy, just remind me to drink water and remember to take it easy. And I think that's what helps, because we're so hard on ourselves and we want everything to be perfect. And then when it doesn't happen, then we stress ourselves out even more. And then we're like, and then we end up like doing something terrible or dumb or going to the hospital. So, I think just kind of taking a step back and looking at a different perspective and figuring out like, okay, what's the best way to go about this next time so I don't do this again?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, something I learned really super recently that I didn't realize is that like burnout can take a long time to recover from. They say it can take anything up to 3 to 5 years if you hit like actual burnout to actually fully recover from like the physical and mental effects of it. And I'm realizing now it's 2022 and I'm like counting back in time and I'm like, yeah, I hit burnout in my games industry job. That was about 5.5 years ago. And I'm starting to feel better now, but I'm like, is that why? It's wild. And we need to take it seriously.
You don't. Yeah. I feel like this is such a huge topic that probably like this whole, I don't even think it's a generation, but like a lot of people right now, like I feel like for the last like 5 or 6 years, I see it. I've recently tried to expand like my Twitter following or like who I'm following on Twitter to include different like niches and genres of people. And I'm starting to notice the language in like the artist community and the astrology community. And like people are talking about burnout. I thought it was a streamer thing, a YouTuber thing, because it's a hustle every day kind of thing. Yeah. But I feel like it's just how we survive in the world right now. Like we can't stop. And I do think this is a huge subject that is I don't know, an epidemic maybe, and another like another kind of pandemic, I guess, like another thing that's affecting so many different people. Just trying to make ends meet, pay the bills, you know, we got to do a million things every day to just get the food on the table. So I appreciate you being open about it and sharing with it. It truly sounds like you had a like, you know, record scratch, like, yep, that's me. Bet you're wondering how I ended up here. It really sounds like you had that moment. Like
that's exactly what it was, because it's like, you know, you have those moments where you just like stop and kind of like, what the hell am I doing?
Yep.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. The nurse left, my fiance left. He had to go take care of our dog because like I don't want to get too much into details, but I was like passing out on the floor and my fiance's like getting out of the bathroom, like, oh, take me in the car, and we just went. And it's like he left and I was like, I could have died. What in the world was I thinking? You know, it's like you go back and like, I could have avoided that, I could have did that, like, and we don't think about it because we're always putting it off. And it's important to take time for yourself. And so a goal of mine, I said, okay, I need to start working out consistently. So instead of just going to the gym and working out for an hour, that's just forcing myself to get into a pattern that I'm creating for myself again, and then going to beat myself up if I don't do it. So what I did was I went to the gym only for 30 minutes. I set a timer, did a few things at the gym, and then 30 minutes is up. Okay, I'm going home. I'm not going to stress myself out trying to get a complete set in. Like, I'm there for 30 minutes to do whatever, and I'm good. And I felt good. I didn't feel pressured. I had to finish something. You know, I didn't walk like a full 5 minutes on this thing. I didn't do that. I just did whatever I felt like if it hurt, I stopped and then moved on to something else. And I think that it changed a lot in my mind. Once I did that, I went home and I was like, I feel better, but not like I accomplished something, yay, but I felt better because I didn't have to push myself for no reason, you know? And I think when you're setting your small goals like that, so you take your time building up to like whatever goal you want, I think that eases up the pressure you put on yourself. So I think that's one of the things. I don't know if that'll help somebody listening or y'all or whoever. I think that's a good way to do it. Start small, and I think that'll definitely kind of cool you down and get a nice pace going.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Dani. I think we've completed level 1 and reached a save point. So we will be right back after a short ad break. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Okay, so Dani, back into voice acting. What was the first role that you took on that made you feel, wow, I'm finally here? Like the door opener for you that made you realize like you're done it. You're a voice actress now.
Probably. Oh, hold on. I gotta think. Probably when I booked my first like big named character, which people think it's Chise Hattori in Agent Magus Bride. It's not. I booked a show called The Morose Mononokean as a supporting character named Zenko Fujiwara. I went through my first audition process with Funimation. The director was Tyler Walker at the time. And I went in, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I only been working here for like 3 months, doing Walla and bits, and I already got an audition. Weird. Okay, but whatever. Did the audition. I wasn't expecting anything. Got an email. Hey, we want to book you for this character Zenko that I read for, and went in, and they told me like, yeah, you're the supporting character in the show. I was like, oh my gosh, thanks so much. And when we recorded the first episode, we took a break, and I sat in the chair, and I was like, I did it. I'm in anime. Yay!
That's so exciting.
It was. I went home and no, I left, and then I got myself some ice cream and went home. I was so excited.
Excellent life choice.
It was awesome.
That's cool. This is going to be a slight kind of like turn on that question. Have there ever been any times that you feel like you've had any big failures that you've learned from outside of like burnout and stuff like that? Have there been any things that have kind of stood out in your career that you've taken as a learning opportunity moving forward?
Yes, actually, I could talk about this because the game's out, but I auditioned for the new Pokemon Snap game.
Oh.
And I think it was going to be recorded in LA, and I was so excited. I was like, she's so cute. The character's Rita. I was like, she's so cute. I really think I could do this. It's in my voice range. I could totally do this. I was so excited about it. I think I kind of self-sabotaged and didn't think about it. Like listening back to my audition now, like months later, I was like, why did I do that read? I felt like I was like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. You know, it was not a good time. And it was a lot of other stuff going on. But like with that, when I didn't get it, I was kind of at a low point because I was like, what am I doing wrong? What's happening? Like, I keep getting these auditions, but I'm not booking anything, like that kind of thing. And so looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, I could have did that different because I'm pushing too hard over here, like that sort of thing. And it kind of made me reevaluate, okay, how do I look at the audition sides now? So it's interesting because I getting taught and, private lessons with other instructors kind of helped me reevaluate my audition process of how I do my auditions. And it was really good. So I'm grateful I didn't get the role because it kind of made me reevaluate how I go about things in my audition. Right. So yeah.
What were some of your favorite moments in your career? Stepping away from failures, are there any things that super stand out that would go in like the Dani scrapbook Hall of Fame?
Oh, nice. Trying to think because there were a lot of fun moments. Probably. I've been doing a lot of cons last year.
Mm.
That was a lot of fun. I love doing cons. Love meeting people, and I think some of the most heartwarming things I get are people who say they watched the show and they love my performance and it helped them get through a tough time.
Aw.
Is so like, oh my god, yes. It's so cute, especially for Ancient Magus Bride. People love that show. It's such a good show.
I love that show.
I know. I have my Elias pillow right there.
I love it. I
Wait.
love it.
There he is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I really do. I actually just started watching it not that long ago, and I absolutely adore it. And it's really funny because I quite frequently watch anime in Japanese with English subs, but I'm watching Ancient Magus Bride in the English dub. So without realizing that I was going to be talking to you soon, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, because like I've been watching you on my TV, which is kind of
Oh, that's so cool. Yay! It's so it's such a really good show. Good music and good animation because it's Wit Studio, of course. But it's a beautiful story with a beautiful lesson and learning to like rely on others to kind of help you, and you don't have to do everything yourself, because it's a very tragic story with her. But her learning throughout it, I won't spoil it for you, but her learning.
I know, I'm curious. I'm like, what is this?
So good. Like,
it's so good. It's
even
really,
if I
really
wasn't in this show, I'd say watch it. Like,
yeah.
and it's two people who don't know how to people right, are together and trying to figure out the life and you know the Fae world and stuff. But it's really good. And so people come up to me like, you did so good in that thing. I'm like, oh, thank you. They're like, yeah, I was going through a really rough time. And you know, hearing your performance and me relating to Chise, I feel like you really brought the character out. And I related to her a lot. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's so awesome. And I'm like, I'm glad. And I always try to give them like other shows to watch that are helpful that I'm not in. Like if you want like a good romance feel good anime, Snow White with the red hair, that's a really good one. And Horimiya is really good. I love that one too. But yeah, they're really like, I just love helping the little peoples, and they come up to the table, and I think those are some of my favorite moments out of the scrapbook.
Yes, you gotta have the scrapbook.
Yes,
I love that, by the way, Shady. That was the best thing.
I know, I'm gonna use it. It's pretty good.
So you spoke a little bit about how you have like a history in theater and acting. Did you feel like in the past, like what did you aspire to before you got into voice acting? Do you feel like you followed that kind of path for yourself, or have you completely changed path in that direction?
I actually completely changed the path because I still love doing theater. I still do it on the side because I wanted to originally do a radio. I wanted to be a radio host and own my own radio station.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really cool. But then I went to college and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that because I was so focused on the acting stuff that I didn't, you know, I would really care less about the broadcasting part. And so I was always doing like the traveling drama troupe and whatever plays came out. I was more focused on that. And I was like, maybe I don't want to be a DJ anymore. It kind of was like, yeah, no, I'll just stick to theater and hoping to get in Broadway eventually. But that's another trek in itself.
So you sing too. Wow, this is awesome.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Just being on stage with everything. Musicals are so fun.
Yes, yes.
We actually did Shrek the Musical at a community theater.
Oh wow,
that's so fun.
Yeah, I played Donkey.
Really?
Yep.
That's super fun.
Oh, it was so fun. I channeled Eddie Murphy as hard as I could.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's next for you then? Do you have anything that you'd like to share about kind of like the direction that you're going now, or anything that's coming up in the future that you can talk about? Because I know that there's probably loads you can't.
Yeah, there's a few things that I can't talk about that I really wish I could. But if you play Cookie Run Kingdom, my character came out. I play Caramel Arrow Cookie. It's a little gotcha game for a mobile game, I think.
Cool.
It's really fun, really, really cute.
That's sweet.
But I'm starting to do some directing at Funny, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I love directing. I would love to direct video games because
cool.
I feel like doing the video games because you're not as restricted because of the lip flaps
Yeah.
with anime, and video game you kind of can just like, oh, like if I could ever direct a game like kind of like The Last of Us style or God of War.
Ooh.
Oh, it would be so cool to do that. Like be in it or direct it, I don't care. It's a lot of fun, and I would love to do that. Yeah, like so far right now, just keep doing my thing, try to book more work, try and do more LA stuff, and just have fun with it.
Do you want to do voice acting forever, or is directing like your is that like a next step for you, or is there like a big, like, 15, 20 years from now, like what is your big goals, your big dreams?
I have two. I want to retire from voice acting specifically when I get older and focus on directing, to bring up the next generation kind of.
Yeah.
And the other one would be I would love to do a Broadway show of Once Upon a Mattress. That is a musical starring Carol Burnett, one of the funniest women in history, and she's so funny. I almost got to meet her, but I had a show that weekend. And I was oh man, I was so mad. Anyway, yeah, no, she's hilarious. I love her to death, and so I love her, and I want to do that musical because I played it in a community theater, but I would love to do it on Broadway. They brought it back once with Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. It didn't really go that long. I'm not sure why. She was fun, but I was like, come on, you could. That's a fun show. It's like medieval. Like you could do so much fun stuff with that. But whatever. I would love to bring it back and star in it, just because it's one of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
Yeah, that's on my dream list.
Cool. That's awesome. So what resources would you recommend for someone who is trying to learn more about voice acting or getting into voice acting?
There is a website by D. Bradley Baker called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com.
Oh.
It has everything you need to get started as far as like information, what links you should do, what steps you should take, because all the voice actors get asked this at con. And it's not that we can't answer, it's just we get it asked a lot. And so we always say, here's the information, go check that out. Because a lot of the times, unfortunately, we get people who ask us that question and they're like, oh, I have to work? You're like, yeah, it's work. You just like if anything else,
it's a job.
And I think some of them expect you to kind of like just, here, I can get you into Funimation. And it's like, no, I have no power to do that. I'm a contractor for Funimation. That's what we do. I can't be like, hey, hire this Mr. Joe Blow dude over here with no credentials,
Yeah.
I want to be a voiceactor.com by D. Bradley Baker. Best resource. And one thing I always say to people who want to get into it, I tell them, ask yourself, why do you want to become a voice actor? If you're saying it's for the cons, the fame, the money, then you don't need to do it.
Good advice.
I feel like
Excellent.
we say that to streamers, like people who want to be a streamer as well.
Yes.
So like full-time streaming. I get a lot of people who are like, oh, I really want to stream. Why do you want to stream? Oh, it's because of the money or the fame. And I'm like, honey, that's not going to happen. Like, it's probably going to take so long for you to get there.
Yes.
Like the rest of us.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's like they just see what's there. They don't see all the hard work behind it. Like I've been streaming since 2014 and I just do it just to do it. I'm not trying to trying to make all my money off of it, because I know myself, I can't do that. It was too random. So I'm like, I'm good. I will stick with the voiceover stuff and all that. But yeah, no, it's just you know the drill. They're always wanting to know. I could do it. It's like, okay, but you gotta do this. I don't know. It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
It's like, I can do this. And it's like, okay, so prove it. Like, you could do like a one-off stream or a one-off like voice acting moment, but can you do the grind of it? Can you do the long-term hustle, the work that gets you to the points where you get offered the big spots in the shows? I feel like so many people probably went through a moment of like wanting to be a voice actor. I think that there's I'm sure that there's still a lot of pressure that comes along with it, but I feel like the not having to be on camera probably relieves a lot of stress of performing. And you've been on like theater productions. How does it compare being on stage performing compared to being behind a microphone in a studio?
Ooh, they are big differences, because on stage, you have to be big, you have to be very expressive with everything, your whole body, your face, your costumes even, and you have the live audience as well to kind of feed off of them with their energy, especially with comedy. When they laugh, you kind of like get the peacock, the boost. And that helps, But in voice acting, it's just mainly, usually it's three people, you, the engineer, and the director. Sometimes there's like another, like the clients in there sometimes. So probably like 3 to 5 people. So you don't really have an audience to kind of feed out off of. You can't be as big as you want because the microphone's in the way. I can't be like, in front of the microphone because it'll pick it up. Right. So to go from like really big to really condensed is very hard. I think it's one of the hardest transitions for theater people to get into voice acting because of this reason. So because you still have to be expressive, but just with your voice. And I mean, you can use your body, but to a certain extent. But you have to portray all of that like you would in theater in just here. And it was very hard for me to transition. Hence why I took classes and stuff to kind of learn how they work. Because I was really bad when I started. It's like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Why did I think I could do this?
I actually have a follow-up question to that based on something you said earlier. And it's something I've always wondered about. And I really hope that some of our listeners are also wondering this. And this is going to be like a revealing moment. But you were talking about like the kind of matching up your voice to like the lips and the movement in like anime, for example. How tricky is that? And how much does it affect like the kind of emotion and acting, I guess, you can put into the voice?
It can affect it. Depending on the character, if you have a character that talks fast, sometimes that helps because their lip flaps are like ba 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 ba, and you could just say, "I was just starting," you could just say it,
right?
But if you're trying to get through like a monologue, your flaps are few and far between, it gets really hard. That's why we have the adapters to kind of to adapt the script that will help with westernized communication, so that way it's a little easier. But matching flaps is hard. It is very hard, but I think once you keep doing it, it'll start to get easier within time, but it's still kind of hard sometimes.
This phrase is matching flaps is just making me want to giggle. It's very silly. Do you get the opportunity to improvise on your own, or do you have to have approval for how you try to? I imagine it seems like it's a collaborative process. Like there's people there. So you're like, well, it would be better if I said this here instead of that. Or do they tell you what to say? And maybe it depends on the show even, or the production.
I think it depends on the director as well. Because the show, because sometimes you can, like, if you have input you want to put in there, you can always ask the director, like, hey Kyle, I think I want to try something. And sometimes they'll be like, okay, sure. But if you like don't have time or they really don't want to, they'll tell you. It's never really I don't want to say never, but sometimes you don't really want to go off on your own all the time because it makes it seem like the director doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
So I mean, it's within reason. Like if you want to do it if you want to let the director know, like, hey, there's a few things I want to try, you can ask them, and if they say yeah, sure, then you can do it. But yeah, it's a collaborative effort. Like, yeah, we're doing the character, but it's the director that has the vision.
Right.
Right.
That's cool.
That makes sense. I know you probably get asked this all the time, but do you have like a piece of advice or a tip or something from a mentor that you've had maybe in the past that is particularly helpful that you think would be useful to somebody getting into the field?
Ooh. I have a whole list actually at home.
Ah.
I mean in my room. Gosh. Probably don't psych yourself out over an audition.
Okay.
Because if you're so worried about the trying to book it, it's gonna show.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just doing the character and enjoying the performance, it'll feel better and you'll feel proud of it, rather than like I have to give them a read that I know they're gonna book. You're gonna focus on that. It's not gonna be anything that they ask for.
Right.
The nerves are gonna come through. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's great. Thank you. I guess we've reached the end of that level, so let's take a super short break and we'll be right back.
Great. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for your time so far today, Dani. I think that we'd like to dig into streaming a little bit with you, because I know that most of us all of us on the hosting team are streamers, and a large portion of our audience is probably interested in streaming as well. And you said you've been streaming since 2014, so you got in the game early too. And you mentioned that it was basically like hobby streaming as compared to like professional streaming or like streaming as a career. Was there a point where you thought about going into streaming as your main thing? And that's interesting because it kind of lines up with broadcasting or like DJing too. And how did you kind of segue out of it, or how did you decide to just chill with it and take it as a hobby supplementary to your voice acting?
I was doing it because I have my own YouTube channel as well, and Twitch, everybody started streaming on Twitch and stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I could try that. So I tried it, and I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun, playing games, talking to the people that, have been commenting on my videos, and I'm like, this is fun. I enjoy it. And then the more research I did about Twitch and seeing like, people do their videos and everything, and I saw some people had like, those vlogs where they show like what they do behind the scenes and stuff. I was like, that looks really cool. And then watching those videos, I'm like, I would be stressed the hell out. I don't know if I want to do this. So I was like, I like doing my Let's Plays on YouTube. That's fine. I can go my own schedule. Streaming, I felt like I would push myself way too hard, because I tried doing it for like 6 months, trying to be consistent, trying to stream like, 3 times, 4 times a week. And I was just not as happy. And I said, you know what? It's making me not like video games much anymore. Right. So I was like, no, I'm going to take a step back and just stream whenever I want to. And I think that's what kind of made it more of a hobby thing for me. I'm not trying to get into partner. I mean, if it happens, cool, that's fine, I guess, but I'm not going to make it my full-time job. And so now that I have, somewhat of a following because of the voiceover, social media has changed now. I'm sure
rapidly.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of, I don't want to say required, but it's helpful for your platform if you stream more, interact with the fans more in a way, like TikTok and Instagram and all that jazz. So it helps. So trying to increase that helps a bit, but also I'm trying not to like overwork myself in it. So like I'll set a few days like, oh, streaming only for like 2 hours at a time on these days. And then like, oh, we can go over it just a little bit. So just setting those boundaries for myself that I don't want to cross has been extremely helpful.
As a kind of like side note to that, like what kinds of games do you do Let's Plays for? What kind of games do you play on your stream?
I like to do a lot of old school games. I recently streamed Super Mario RPG for the SNES.
Yes!
I love the Paper Mario series is my absolute favorite. Like,
oh, cool!
I love it so much. Yes. And I am playing through the Kirby and the Forgotten Land right now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so good.
Is that
I
the new
love
Kirby
Kirby.
game that just came out?
Yes.
Okay.
You need to get
Okay.
it. You need
I'm
to
very
get it.
excited.
I
know,
haven't
I'm
tried
bad.
it yet, and I love Kirby so much from when I was a kid. So I'm like, I have to try this.
Oh, you're gonna love it. It's a 3D platform, so it's like
Mhm.
it's not 2D or side scrolling anymore.
Oh
And I'm
wow.
like, what? And it worked.
Yeah.
It works, and it's so good. You need to please go play it. It's
Right,
so
that's
good.
it. I'm doing it right after we finish recording. I'm gonna go
good.
buy it. I'm gonna go play it.
Ah.
So good. It's so good.
Okay, so you had mentioned boundaries, which is another very passionate subject of mine. I've been recently going through a lot of very intense boundary setting that has almost created another moment for me. I've been streaming for about 6 years, and this has created another moment of almost like a full rebranding moment. Like I started out streaming a lot of adrenaline games, and then I realized that I was stressing my body to hell and needed to like step back a little bit. And then I came into just, Sandbox, Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Oh, so cute and cozy. And now I've gone about it in such a way that I've created a pretty kind of parasocial toxic environment around me with the way that I interact with my community. You specifically mentioned boundaries, and this is something that I like to push in. I wonder if you, especially because you have it on a different level, you're a characters to some of your viewers, I'm sure. Do you ever deal with kind of a maybe a parasocial crossing of boundaries in that way? And have there been any moments that have been like, whoa, because you've also mentioned burnout. Has the boundary setting been part of this issue? Maybe not necessarily with the people involved or your audience, but with you and how you're approaching the things that you're doing?
I believe so. Like, because I feel like it's true for anybody, especially on a social media platform. Because when I started doing the streaming, I was still fairly new, so I didn't know how to kind of act on Twitch when it came to like people being toxic. I've had people come in and say like, some racist stuff, but whatever, that's a block or whatever. I really don't care about them. But people who like come in and trauma dump, because I like to listen to people, and sometimes I've let like a couple of chat members kind of like say like, oh, they're going through like a little bit, like, oh no, like my dog died. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, we'll talk about it on the stream. But then I'll have people come in and just start trauma dumping everything, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Back in the day, I would be like, oh my god, and we just stop the stream and just talk about that or whatever. And it's like, knowing that now, especially now, everybody has their issues, their problems, and things like that. But when people come in and try to say all that, it's unfortunate that stuff's happening to you, and I'm sorry, but you can't come in someone's stream and just dump all that, because we are not therapists. We can't really give you any advice to your situation because we're not professionals. We've probably never dealt with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's completely unfair to the streamer to have that responsibility for your happiness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We aren't responsible. We're here to provide entertainment, and you take that however you wish. And if you don't like it, then you can just leave, people spouting like hateful comments in the chat and then leave you. I'm like, okay. Anyway, I've learned
just trying to carry on.
Yeah. It's like I've learned to just ignore it and like don't let it bother me, because people will say the stupidest stuff about us just because of who we are, They may say like, oh, I don't like Shade's hat or whatever, or I don't like I don't like Sykes' background or whatever. And like stuff like that happens, we're like, okay, whatever. Like we don't not acknowledging all that toxicity I think is a good boundary, because we don't have to deal with them. And there was another part of the question I totally forgot.
Just kind of like focused around boundaries in general, and if maybe there's something you had done as far as setting your boundaries that had sort of contributed into the burnout, and if that related to maybe like this trauma dumping you're talking about, because it sounds very similar to how I was earlier in streaming. It was like, stop the presses, let's have a kumbaya moment.
Oh, I definitely did that. Like,
and
100%.
now it's like, whoa, like it's not even a whoa moment. It's like I just see it in chat and I don't acknowledge it anymore, because we're not going to create that conversation here, because then it's just really, it's dangerous too. I feel like it's for everybody involved, for Again, I feel like this is a whole like big subject that there's like maybe more conversation and education needs to happen around the area. But yeah, if you had any kind of boundary setting issues you're on, like on yourself, or like maybe like some aha wake up moments, learning moments where you were like, wow, my boundaries are not strong enough here.
Yeah, probably when I started the voice acting stuff, and then people started finding out like my YouTube and stuff, and they would comment on my videos, and they're like, oh my god, it's Dahlia Hawthorne. They would call me by my character name.
Yeah.
And I would normally but before setting a boundary there, I would say, oh yeah, Dahlia Hawthorne, such a evil character, blah blah blah, instead of like going with it, or excuse me, instead of like telling them, hey, that's cool, but that's not who I am. I'm Dani, I'm not Dahlia. I would just kind of play into it. And now as I, are in this and see it more happen, and it's super uncomfortable. Even on Twitter, a lot of other voice actors get called their character names, and it's really weird. Because some fans have this perception of you being that character, and then they start like role playing, and you're like, no, I don't do this. Yeah. And so like recently, a few years ago, I had somebody call me some character. I can't remember. It was a smaller character, so it wasn't even that big, but they were messaging me like, hi, so and so, how are you doing? Are you gonna go do the thing that your character does? I was like, hi, that is not my name. My name is Dani. I voice this character. Please stop contacting me as the character, calling me the character's name. If you do this again, I'm going to have to block you. And they are like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I won't do it. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And so
that is weird.
Letting them straight up know the first time and giving them a warning, I think that usually sets them straight. And then so far I haven't had any issues with that person. So
yeah, because people will project like fantasies onto characters, and that can get dangerous if you're playing like villains and stuff like that. I mean, it could get dangerous regardless, but I'm thinking like towards I don't know if y'all saw like Game of Thrones, but the guy that played Joffrey had a bunch of terror. Like, I mean,
it's really weird you bring that up, because so he went to university in the city I used to live in. I used to live in Dublin. And so many Game of Thrones actors like cycled past me or walked past me in the street, and it was weird, right?
Cool.
And it was really cool. But like, I remember I walked past the person, I can't remember his name, the person who played Joffrey. He was on a bike and he cycled past me in the middle of the street, and I was like, oh my god, there's Joffrey. And then I mentioned it later on the internet, and someone was like, oh, I hope you punched him. And I was like, I'm sorry, he's an actor. Like, what on earth? Not to mention that I probably wouldn't do that to Joffrey the child, but like, it's an actor. What the heck? The weirdest behavior over people not understanding there's definitely like a boundary there. It's so weird.
It's like they can't disconnect reality from fiction, and it's strange because it's like, I understand, especially if they're kids. Kids wouldn't. But adults, you're like, why would I punch her? Why? Why? Him? He's an actor. He's not like that in real life. I don't know.
No. Why would he's apparently actually a super nice person as well.
I've seen a couple of interviews. Funny. He's just like a sweet little guy.
He's really sweet.
Well, I think he said he stopped acting because of that. That really kind of sealed his fate. And I was like,
wow.
Oh my god,
that's so unfortunate.
That would kill me to not be able to act anymore because people only see me as a terrible human being. I'm like,
for playing a character, and such a compelling character too, that makes
and doing so well.
Yeah. And it makes the whole show or the whole story work because it's such a villainous, awful character. That's I don't know. I feel like streaming as Dani and having fans of the show come in. I was curious, I meant to ask this earlier, but do people ever come into your stream and ask you to like do the voice of like a certain character?
That's fine. Like, I don't mind doing that. Like, as long as they're not spamming it. I did have one person like say, can you say this? Can you say it like every like 10 minutes? Oh, wow. And I was like, okay, you gotta, no, we're not doing that. No, it's fun. Like, some people will come in like, hi, my sister and I are watching your stream right now. Can you do the voice of Chise in the stream? And I would do it. They're like, oh my god, thank you. that's really sweet. But you know, if I have someone coming here spamming like, "Hey, can you do the Dahlia voice? Can you do the Dahlia voice? Can you say this in Dahlia voice?" And I'm like, "No, we're not doing this." Or they ask me to say something really strange,
questionable,
or something like super sexual, and I'm like,
no,
no, we're not doing that.
Somehow I'm not surprised that happens, but I'm always disappointed to hear that it's a thing.
Yeah, that's why I'm so afraid of Cameo, like the service Cameo, where you can like request things. Say, I'm scared about that because I'm afraid what people will make me say.
I'm like, I'm
not gonna say that.
No, absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
Okay, great. Do we have anything in particular that you'd like to shout out? For example, new projects that are coming up, or anything cool that you'd like to share?
Yes. I had to write it down so I wouldn't forget. There's an animation called Farfetched coming out. It's kind of like a riff of like Scooby-Doo and Jabberjaw, and it's a really cool. It's got J. Michael Tatum, Jonah Scott in it, and it's animated by Ashley Nicole and oh god, what's his name? Daniel. Was it Daniel? I'm so sorry. I have to look this up. Dave Caporelli. I'm so sorry. They're gonna kill me if they hear this. I'm so sorry, guys. No, they have been working hard in their whole crew. They animate. It's an animation, and they've been doing this all on their own. Their team, and they're fantastic. And it's been insanely cool working with them. And I can't the teaser's out. It's called Farfetched. The teaser's out. And I really hope people like it when it officially comes out. It's really good. Really good.
That's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Psyche, what about you? Do you have anything coming up soon? New streams or anything fun?
By the time this episode comes out, it'll have already happened. But I'm going to be on the front page of Twitch this week.
Yay, congratulations.
Which I'm excited about and also scared. I don't know if this is just me. I have been streaming since 2014 and I still get nervous every single time I do like a big thing or whatever. Yeah. And it reminds me because I went to an event once and I was streaming and they had like the streaming booth and I was streaming in it. And like it was exactly the same as any other stream, right? I was still streaming on my own channel and whatever, but I felt like I was kind of like more visible because they had like a glass booth that people could look at.
That made me so nervous.
I was terrified. And everybody at the event was like, why? It's just exactly the same as any other stream. And I was like, that's my secret. I'm nervous for every stream.
Well, it's also not the same though, because I'm just in my room and nobody's looking at me.
Exactly.
No one's like doing this.
Yeah. I'm just peering in through the window. It's completely different. But that's happening for me this week. So it will have already happened, but I'm pretty excited about that. Shady, what about you? Do you have anything that you'd like to shout out?
I guess not in particular. I did just start a brand new stream series called Midnight Study Sesh that I'm very excited about.
I saw that.
Okay. I'm super. So I've been doing I've been trying so many different hats on the whole 8 billion years I've been streaming at this point. But I feel like I'm finally falling into like what I've been meant to do. It's sort of like an ASMR-ish experience. So it's like kind of like, more soft spoken because I want it to feel like we've snuck out into like a castle library and we're researching like esoteric subjects together and sometimes like paranormal. So it's starting out like an esoteric deep dive and because I do a lot of tarot on my channel. So we're deep diving into tarot symbolism and I'm going to follow the rabbit holes wherever they go, but probably incorporate some paranormal Bigfoot, like alien stuff as well. So it's just kind of like a, it's stuff that I feel like I would have wanted to watch when I was younger. And this is the first time I've lost track of time streaming I couldn't tell you how long. And when I was reviewing the stream the next day to make sure audio levels were good and just kind of checking around, I got lost rewatching it because I was so interested in the information all over. This hasn't happened to me in years. So I'm like,
that's exciting.
Wow. Have I just not been making good content? But I'm very excited about that. I'm doing that every single Wednesday and I'm going to see how long that goes. But you can find me HeyShadyLady across, all platforms.
I should also, I guess, point out my social media because I realized you asked me a question,
I was
Shady,
about
and
to
I just totally didn't say it. You've also reminded me I'm actually going to be starting a new series on my channel. Once a month, we're going to do like a streaming advice column, I guess. Like I'm not an expert by any means, but I feel like maybe we can crowdsource stuff. So we're going to try and do that once
But
a
you have
month
so
for
much
people.
experience. That's valuable.
I feel like I'd like to, and I also don't believe in gatekeeping information and
Yes.
knowledge. So I want
Amen
to try
to
and do
that.
that.
Yes.
Super
Yes.
important. So I am twitch.tv/Psyche, and I am Psyche Plays on most other social media, I will say. Dani, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at SkinnyMini07 pretty much anywhere. That's SkinnyMini07 on TikTok, Twitter. It was on Instagram. Instagram is actually Dani G Chambers, but I think if you type in SkinnyMini07, you'll still find me.
Is it Skinny Mini with Y's?
No, SKINIMINI.
Oh, cute. Okay.
All I's. It's been my nickname since middle school.
Aw.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
sweet.
I played basketball, and so I was fast, and I was a shooter. So people were like, "Oh, look at Skinny Mini go!" I was like,
That's so cute. I love that.
yep, kept it all these years.
All right, cool. Well, I guess that's going to wrap our episode up. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in, and a huge thank you to Dani for your time
Yes,
and sharing
thank
all your
you.
experiences and wisdom with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Hooray.
Yay!
Hooray!